Welcome to Crossroads. Illegal immigrants from 4 different countries are about to lose their parole status, and this is going to be big. Now look, this includes people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And the parole program, it's allowed the illegal immigrants to receive all the various financial services from U.S. taxpayers, including, for example, a lot of the social services, free housing, and so on. It also allows them right now, at least, to legally work in the United States. And with that now coming to an end, Biden's not going to renew it for those 4 groups. They will now need to find other legal means to stay in the country or other things. Although, look, various legal loopholes could very likely allow them to keep working. Now, CNN said this. Let me show you. It says the Biden administration won't extend legal permissions for certain migrants from Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, and Haiti, provided through a temporary humanitarian program designed to curb illegal border crossings, requiring them to seek other legal means to remain in the United States, according to the Department of Homeland Security. I want to deep dive into this, folks. Now look, this program, it started as a way to accommodate Venezuelans. That was back in 2022. There was already a migrant crisis. This particular thing, the parole thing, wasn't technically what caused it by any means, but it also is one of the things that I think has taken the most money and given it to these people. Now, they started with Venezuelans back in 2022. Later on, they extended it to Nicaraguans, Cubans, and Haitians. Now, look, it lets them temporarily work and live in the United States, and it was pitched as a way to kind of stop the surges of people at the border entries. You might remember the very bad optics where all these thousands of people were huddled under bridges on the Mexican side of the border, waiting to illegally enter the United States. You remember that? Do you remember when they said that the Border Patrol was like lassoing and whipping Haitians? It turned out to be a lie. It was fake news when they said that. But, you know, that's the kind of optics they wanted to avoid. Basically having thousands of people trying to do what they used to call bonsai runs on the border. They don't let them do that anymore. They try to trickle them in, right? The parole program, it let them come to the United States through pseudo-legal means, right? They have to have a sponsor or not, right? And if they get through, there's another process that includes, for example, screening, background checks, vaccinations, and so on. And, you know, the incentive for them to do that is you get all these government financial programs. You get access to more things than most Americans get. Now, look, the program was always pitched as being temporary. It was never in writing saying, hey, this is here for good. It basically opened a window for people in the program to apply for other legal methods to stay in the United States, while they were given the parole. Meaning that, hey, you're getting a free house and free food, and I'll go over what they're getting. Free a lot of things, tons of stuff, but that is temporary. And look, since they were given parole, it also gave them a type of semi-legal status that made them eligible for all these things. But the expectation was, hey, you're not just sitting at home watching TV during this time. You need to be looking for other ways to stay in this country and support yourself. We're not just going to take care of you forever. And that's now coming up. Now look, although the programs are now ending for some of the groups, people from Ukraine and Afghanistan, they are being allowed to renew their parole. And so the parole program isn't ending for everyone. Again, only at this point, Ukrainians and Afghanis, they're getting the ability to renew it. Other ones, not. No, it's not going to be there. Now, importantly also, this program is still just including just a fraction, a very small fraction, of the illegal immigrants who've been allowed into the country over the last few years. Now, it's going to affect around 530,000 illegal immigrants. That's a lot of illegal immigrants. But remember, like the previous numbers we had were over 7 million allowed into the country just under Biden. Some believe that number is well over 10 million by this point, given the numbers they're letting in every single day and every single month. And so this is technically a small fraction, but this small fraction is one of the ones that is getting all these government programs and benefits and so on. Now, it includes around 214,000 Haitians, 96,000 Nicaraguans, 121,000 Venezuelans, and around 111,000 Cubans. But look, On the other side of this, even though people from these 4 countries are going to lose their parole status, it does not necessarily mean they're going to be deported. And this could become an issue either way. Imagine, for example, you have people from Venezuela who come here. Many of them, if there's no opportunities here, they might consider going home. I don't know about that. A lot of them are going to be looking for ways to stay legally and work legally. And the problem you're going to have with that is those who cannot find that, there are now gangs trying to recruit them to get involved in criminal enterprises. You're going to have a recruitment drive for the gangs, which they're already doing, by the way. Now look, again, on the other side of this whole program, just because parole is ending, right, doesn't mean that this is going to basically go away. House Republicans are saying it does not necessarily mean the illegal immigrants are going to be deported. Here's a thread on X from the U.S. House of Representatives Homeland Security Committee Republicans. They say this: there are numerous other ways they could be allowed to stay. They will likely apply for asylum. And remember, because of the way things are happening right now with asylum, you apply, it's not remain in Mexico, it's remain in the United States. And if you remain in the United States, well, the courts, they're not going to get to your case for like 10 years. So we'll see if they grant them all these, temporary asylum cases. It'll also say they're very likely to try to get temporary protected status, or given ICE's low enforcement rates under this administration, they say, simply not be priorities for removal. There's more to that I'll get into in a bit. But they add this. They say this lack of enforcement is part of the reason the non-detained docket has doubled in size since the Trump administration. Remember, the recent DHS, Department of Homeland Security Inspector General report found that the Biden-Harris administration still has no plan to remove 77,000 Afghan nationals who were paroled in 2021 and 2022. Again, they're going to be allowed to renew their parole anyway, right? But they note the same report also, quote, found DHS does not have a process for monitoring parole expiration, meaning they don't really seem to be able to deal with this issue at all. Maybe all it'll do is make it so they don't get all the free handouts, right? Now look, the report they point to is this one. This is from May of 2024, and it's from the Office of Inspector General at the Department of Homeland Security. This is it. Let me show you. It says this further in. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, does not have a process for monitoring parole expiration, and the guidelines for determining re-parole for OAW parolees were undefined. Now, it notes that DHS has a multifaceted but fragmented process for identifying and resolving issues for non-citizens, read illegal immigrants, with derogatory information, including OAW parolees, these individuals allowed into the country and granted parole temporarily. They note this siloed approach creates potential gaps in DHS components' responsibility for terminating parole. In other words, they don't really monitor them close enough to actually end their parole. They don't really have the oversight necessary to even end it legally for these individuals. Raising the question of, well, if they're not going to renew the parole, what's actually going to make sure they're not still getting all these social welfare benefits? Well, they say that they don't really have the ability to do it. And notes they also don't have the ability for initiating removal proceedings, i.e. deporting them, or monitoring parole expiration. So there's really nothing in place, in other words, to make sure they don't get social welfare benefits, nothing really in place to make sure that we are able to deport them if it's deemed that they can't stay here, raising a lot of questions, including, notably, if it's not really a program to monitor parole expiration or who has it and who doesn't, how are they even making sure that people maybe not on parole are also not getting all these social welfare benefits? They note as well the process was complicated by litigation surrounding DHS's immigration law enforcement policies and factors such as consideration of a derogatory information during the re-parole and parole extension process, meaning they probably got called racist by someone and they sued them, right? And it said DHS must consider how to address the vulnerabilities in the USCIS and ICE processes for resolving derogatory information and to establish processes for both managing the end of parole and ensuring data integrity. Translation, They don't really have they don't really have a way of keeping track of any of this. Basically, it says they don't have a system in place to end parole for the illegal immigrants. And so if we're at where we are now, where they're not renewing it, there's no system for it. And notice there's nothing there to monitor the program really, or again to deport them if they lose parole and they're not allowed to stay here. Meaning they're here, and if they want to go home, they can go home, and if they don't, they don't, in other words. Now look, there are also a lot of loopholes that could let the illegal immigrants stay here, whether they have parole or not. Even aside from the lack of tracking, there's a lot of other things they're going to be eligible for. Now, notably, this could result in them filing lawsuits, one of the most likely cases, because imagine state by state, you have hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants being represented, again, by law firms that do class action lawsuits, and they're just suing the states. You're probably going to see that. They could use other means as well to stay in the country. But look, the big difference this is going to likely make is that a good chunk of the free handouts could be coming to an end for a very large number of illegal immigrants. And the timing of this announcement is important also. It's happening right amidst all this controversy that FEMA, right, disaster relief, may not have enough money for long-term disaster relief efforts. They say we have enough money right now, but not long-term, especially notably with this new hurricane getting ready to hit Florida tomorrow. They're saying already, right, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said this publicly. They don't have the resources to take care of that. Now look, also remember the fact that FEMA was involved in programs to house and care for illegal immigrants that cost taxpayers around $1.4 billion. The optics of it are bad. I'll be talking about this more after I come back from a quick break.
Experts agree. One of the best ways to protect against financial uncertainty is to diversify your portfolio. Learn how physical gold and silver can secure your retirement funds from today's economic challenges. With a gold IRA from American Hartford Gold, you can safeguard your wealth with no penalties or taxes when you transfer your current qualifying retirement accounts. Call now and our precious metals specialists will send you a free information kit, no cost or obligation. American Hartford Gold, a trusted industry leader with an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, has a 5-star rating from thousands of happy clients. Whether you are getting physical precious metals in a gold IRA or delivered to your doorstep, we offer only the highest quality gold and silver. For your peace of mind, we also offer a no-fee buyback commitment, a low-price guarantee, along with free shipping and free insurance. So don't wait. Call the number on your screen today and secure your financial future.
Welcome back. The parole program for illegal immigrants is coming to an end for 4 different groups. Now look, this is going to be the end for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans who have entered the country illegally and then applied for parole. They're going to lose that. The Biden administration announced that it will not be extending the temporary permits that allowed the illegal immigrants to receive all these financial services from American taxpayers. And also the program lets them legally work here. That is now coming to an end for all 4 of these groups. It's remaining for people from Afghanistan and people from Ukraine. Now look, the timing of this announcement is really important. This is happening right amidst all these controversies that FEMA is running out of money, right? They say technically they have enough money for the immediate relief efforts, but not for the long-term ones. And especially with the upcoming disaster that could hit soon, tomorrow by the way. You have this new hurricane going to make landfall in Florida. Also the fact that FEMA was involved in programs to house and care for illegal immigrants, which is now getting attention and causing a lot of problems for them. That has cost taxpayers over the years around $1.4 billion. We are bankrolling the care for these individuals. Now, like America First Legal, they actually had a breakdown on these programs. And it shows that while hurricane victims are being given, one-time payments of $750 with the technical potential to get more if they apply for other assistance, a Haitian family granted parole is able to receive around $16,896 in potential free federal benefits. That's your tax money. And that's the benefits that these people get is this, right? Let me show you what they have to say. America First Legal. Quote, upon being paroled into the United States, Haitians may begin receiving benefits from federal programs such as Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, Medicaid, potential housing vouchers from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. That means, for example, folks, all the things you need to get by, right? Assistance for needy families, all your food, SNAP, Medicaid, free health care, housing vouchers, a free house, refugee resettlement programs, including health screenings, transportation, temporary housing, and a whole lot more. Now, that's in addition to other benefits that these illegal immigrants can receive at the state level. Just one example of this, New York State. It also gives them free food through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, and other benefits through the Family Assistance Program, the TANF. In New York City, they can also get additional support through the Asylee Move-Out Assistance, that's the AMA pilot program. That gives them up to $4,000 per family to go and rent a house and, secure permanent housing. We're getting their houses for them. We're paying for their food, we're paying for their houses, we're paying for their health care, and we're paying for every other service they get, including if they have kids and they have to go to public school. Now look, other states give similar benefits as well. It notes what that would look like just in Ohio, for example, right? Here's just one take. America First Legal. Let's take a look at Ohio. An illegally paroled Haitian alien family of 4 may receive more than $1,724 in federal benefits per month. Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, $749. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, $975. And it notes as well that a single Haitian alien in Ohio making less than $1,632 monthly is also eligible to receive $292 in SNAP benefits, $363 in cash benefits, and a family of 4 is eligible to receive $975 in SNAP benefits and $749 in cash benefits. And notes that those are just 2 federal benefits that Haitian entrants are eligible for, but they're potentially eligible for many more. Here are a few additional examples, such as Medicaid, additional assistance from FEMA, and untraceable federal money routed through NGOs, non-governmental organizations, which also provide a lot of services for these individuals. Money given by proxy. It notes that if you are old or blind or disabled and you're a Haitian parolee, you may also be eligible for additional federal funds through the Supplemental Security Income, SSI program from the Social Security Administration. That's your Social Security money hard at work. They note that if eligible, that's an additional $973 a month for an individual, or $1,415 every single month for a couple. Now look, with the parole system ending for people from these 4 countries, they may no longer be eligible for a lot of those programs. Maybe they'll still get some of them, maybe they won't. But technically, legally, they're not going to be eligible. Although look, we'll still need to see what that looks like. But there's also an issue of people just not being accounted for, right? Not only is it people entering the country, applying for asylum, or trying to get on parole or whatever, because the other issue is people who are still in the waiting line for asylum, and we also give them a lot of benefits, right? So there's still other things. But there's also a big focus on this when it comes to children, right? They talk about child separation or the unaccounted for minors. Now, folks, recently, the House Committee on Homeland Security Chairman, that's Mark E. Green, a Republican from Tennessee, he subpoenaed Javier Becerra, Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, and he wants documents and information on illegal immigrant children. Now, notably, Chairman Green noted that many of these hundreds of thousands of kids who have illegally entered the country are unaccounted for. We don't know what happened to them, including the ones they put in homes and so on. There's nothing making sure they're not being trafficked or otherwise. This is directly from the House Homeland Security Committee. Here's what they said. Last year, the Department of Labor revealed that nearly 6,000 children were victims of forced labor in the United States, slavery. And it said under the Biden-Harris administration, CBP, Customs Border Protection, has encountered nearly 520,000 UACs. That's unaccompanied alien children at our southwest border. And that's per an August 2024 report from the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Office of Inspector General, over the last several years, more than 291,000 UACs, unaccompanied alien children, have been released into the interior, who, as of May 2024, had not received immigration court dates, while another 32,000 who did receive court dates never showed up for their hearings. And notes that as a result, quote, without an ability to monitor the location and status of UCSs, ICE, it says, has no assurance UCS are safe from trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor, meaning that there's no way to make sure they're not being human trafficked, enslaved, or forced, for example, into sex services. And that's a big problem, notably, because this also ties into the issue of human traffickers using children for their operations along the southern border. Now, look, this was a known issue in the past. This was why former President Donald Trump was, again, doing the program where they called family separation. What was that actually for? It was to temporarily separate kids and run DNA tests to make sure the adults they were with were not human traffickers, because it's a large-scale problem. Right? They had to make sure the people they were with were their family members. That, hey, we're not going to separate your family, but we want to make sure you're not being sex trafficked and enslaved either, right? Now, look, Border Patrol, they're saying that this is a problem again. They're coming out and saying, hey, remember how we canceled that program because the media was posting fake images from a protest that showed kids in cages? That was not true, it was fake. Remember that? Well, it turns out there was a reason for it. This is what they're saying. New York Post. Border Patrol agents are warning that kids as young as 8 years old are being drugged and smuggled into the U.S. by traffickers posing as their parents or family members. And nobody knows how common the horrifying practice is. It says authorities have rescued children caught up in 2 different instances of such smuggling in recent weeks, including one instance in which the alleged traffickers had birth certificates for multiple kids to whom they were not related, according to the Border Patrol. It says that Border Patrol sources have told the New York Post they've observed increasing numbers of smugglers posing as family units in order to, quote, recycle children. It says authorities say it's not clear what is happening to the children once they are smuggled into the U.S. They don't know what's going on with them. But it says many are vulnerable to being exploited for child labor and child sex trafficking. It says the cases have horrified leaders in the Border Patrol. And they say, quote, sometimes we encounter criminal actions so horrendous they defy human decency. That's according to Gregory Bovino, the Border Patrol chief of California's El Centro sector in the southeast of the state, in response to this case. Now look again, that was the reason. There was a program in place before that briefly was there that separated the kids from the adults they were with to run tests to make sure they were not being trafficked. And they removed that program because of fake reporting saying kids in cages. The child separation narrative now is based on that rumor. That was there to make sure kids were not being sex trafficked and sold into slavery, right? And they're saying it's a problem again. On this note, Haitian illegal immigrants who've been given temporary protected status are now pressing criminal charges against former President Donald Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance. And they're trying to get Donald Trump and J.D. Vance arrested because they talked about rumors that Haitians in Ohio were eating cats. I'll be talking about this, though, only on EpochTV.com. So those of you watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble, come and join us on EpochTV.com. Not only you're going to get access to the rest of this episode, you'll also get access to my live Q&A where we're talking about your questions and so on. Click on the link in the description below. Come and join us on EpochTV.com. And before we continue, let me show you a quick trailer for my documentary, The Final War, the 100-Year Plot to Defeat America, which you can also watch on EpochTV.com. And with that said, I'll see you for the rest of this episode in just a short moment.
The greatest threat facing the United States is the CCP.
The Epoch Times investigation team had studied the CCP for years, but what we uncovered was yielding evidence beyond our imagination.
With Chairman Mao, with the Prime Minister, our talks have been characterized by frankness.
The Clinton administration said, oh, don't worry about it. This will be a poison pill for China.
China's strategic goal is to make sure that the U.S. has 4 enemies, and one of them must be a terrorist group.
We are giving of our life's blood so that the Chinese Communist Party can survive and thrive.